One of Elden Ring's most enigmatic and captivating characters is the Lunar Princess Ranni. She is the focus of one of the game's longest and most interesting side quests, but it's quite easy to miss out on entirely. So, come with us as we find her in Liurnia, delve into the deepest depths of the lands between, and ultimately unlock the Age of Stars ending in Elden Ring. A quick note first for those of you who are already a decent portion of the way through with your Elden Ring journey. Some steps of this quest are different if you defeated certain world bosses already or progressed to certain areas. A couple of ways you can get this quest back on track is to either follow Roger's quest, or, if all else fails, to potentially use a Celestial Dew at the Church of Vows in Liurnia to reset any NPCs that might be unhappy with you. We'll have the guides linked for both of these things in the description, just in case you need them. This first step isn't a necessary part of the quest, but you can meet Ranni very early in your adventure at the Church of Ele in Limgrave.
This way, Tarnished. May I have a word?
By fast travelling to this side of grace, you'll prompt a visit from Ranni. However, she will introduce herself to you as Renna. Here, she can give you the spirit calling bell to summon spirit ashes with, before fading away into the night. Don't worry if you missed this moment, we can get started with the quest later on either way. Ranni resides in a tower called Ranni's Rise, which is in an area behind Caria Manor, in the far northwest of Liurnia. We recommend that players should be around level 50 to be on par with the challenges here. The manor is basically a dungeon, with multiple sites of grace, difficult enemies, and a boss at the end, Royal Knight Loretta. Once you defeat her, you'll be in the Three Sisters region. You want to ride to the westernmost tower up the hill through the ruins, and why yes, that is a gigantic dragon guarding the area. You can decide to tackle this beast head on, but you can also climb into the tower without it noticing. It's up to you. Just keep in mind that if you decide to fight, you won't be able to defeat it right now, as it will fly away midway through the battle once its health gets low enough. Once inside, climb to the top of the tower to find Ranni. She essentially wants to break free from the fate she was born into as a demigod.
I stole death long ago, and search now for the dark path.
Follow her dialogue through until she asks if you want to serve Ranni the Witch, and select yes to continue the quest. She'll prompt you to descend the tower and meet her three other servants, Blythe, Egi, and Selavus. If you try to leave during this time, you'll find that you're actually stuck in here. Simply talk to each of the spirits at least once before returning to Ranni, and then you can leave the area. She's tasked you with finding Blythe, the half-wolf warrior whose spirit you just spoke to, who is currently searching for the city of Nokron.
The eternal city of Nokron lies somewhere at the bottom of this land.
You can find him in Siofra River, the underground area beneath the Mistwood in Limgrave. Descend from the Siofra River well and proceed forward until the area opens up and you find the nearby map marker. Blythe is nearby, looking out over the cliffs near a spirit spring. Speak to him and he will suggest that you now go and speak to Selavus, who was residing in one of the towers of the Three Sisters, near where we found Ranni. Enter Selavus's rise and speak to him.
Well, you're asking me about that, are you?
He will then send you to another NPC named Selen. You can find her in the Waypoint Ruins in Limgrave once you defeat the Mad Pumpkinhead boss. She has her own entire questline to follow, which we've just released a separate video for. We'll leave a link for that in the description as well. Speak to her and give her Selavus's letter, and she will tell you that General Radahn's control of the stars has halted Ranni's destiny.
If General Radahn were to die, the stars would resume their movement, and so too would Ranni's destiny.
From here you can proceed in two ways, as Redmane Castle, where General Radahn resides in southeast Caelid, has two states. If you arrive there before talking to Blythe again, you will need to contend with enemy forces while infiltrating the castle, before fighting a challenging double boss fight. When you talk to Blythe again in Siofra River, or if you've managed to reach the Altus Plateau already, Redmane Castle will be emptied in preparation for the Radahn Festival. Whether you do that before or after conquering the castle is up to you, but once you have, you will be able to challenge Starscourge Radahn.
Let's give them a show to remember, eh?
Radahn is a major fight in the game, and we would suggest you are at level 60 or 70 if you're playing your first playthrough. Defeating him frees the stars to move again, which also sends a falling star crashing into Limgrave. This opens a path to Nokron, meaning you can now find what Ranni is seeking. Travel to Limgrave and head towards the floating rocks in the east. Underneath them is a massive crater, and along the western edge is a path that descends along the crater's edge until you find an opening. Progress through the opening, through the ruins and into Nokron, Eternal City. Jump across the rooftops while watching for ranged attacks from mimic tiers and keep pushing forward. Incidentally, as you progress here, you can also find larval tiers, which are useful items that you need in order to respec your character. Continue until you reach the mimic tier boss fight, who will fight you while imitating your current loadout. Once defeated, proceed across the long stone walkway until it crumbles onto a nearby grassy field. Travel through this grassy area while hugging the left wall until you see a grace overlooking Night's sacred ground. This area is a bit less straightforward than Nokron. From the grace, jump to the slanted roof and then drop down and turn right at the next building. Drop down again to the nearby ledges, then across the domed roof to the other side where you'll fight a couple of silver tiers. Try to take one out quickly before they can gang up on you. Proceed past the lantern on the ground to the southwest. Along the top of the crumbling wall, and then through the window into the nearby chapel. Up the stairs you'll find the Black Whetblade, as well as a stone sword key gate which houses the infamous mimic tier Ash summon behind it, both items which are nice to have. Back in the main room, descend to the next floor where you can either tackle these monks and a gigantic sentient orb of concrete to earn a larval tier, or just run straight through. Grab the grace near the cliff edge and then proceed down the avenue. None of these tier enemies are particularly fast, so you can run past them all or take them out one by one. Just watch out for the final tier, as it spawns a troll who can be a bit more trouble. Once you're past these tiers, walk up the stairs to the small building and open the chest to find the Fingerslayer blade. With the hidden treasure of Nokron in your possession, return to Ranni to hand it over, and in return, she will give you the Carian inverted statue, before telling you that she's about to go on a great journey. This next section has no bearing on the quest, and as such you can completely skip it if you choose, but if you want to use that inverted statue that Ranni just gave you, you should now go to the Carian study hall in Liurnia and present it at the dais near the entrance. This will turn the entire hall upside down, allowing you to somehow eventually get to the Divine Tower of Liurnia. At the top of the tower is Ranni's original body, distinct from the doll bodies we're used to her inhabiting. This is a body that she discarded long ago, and it is marked with the curse mark of death, which you should retrieve while you're here if you want to complete some other side quests later on. If you go back to Ranni's Rise now, you'll find that it's empty. But if you go to Renna's Rise, which has previously been sealed off, you can now access the whole tower. At the top of the ladder, you can find a chest with the Snow Witch attire, if you feel like representing Ranni through the lands between, and upstairs is a transporter which takes you to Ainsel, Redmane. Near to where you arrive is a couple of stone coffins. Make sure to pick up the miniature Ranni item there, and then rest at the nearby site of Grace. You can then talk to the miniature doll a few times, until Ranni reveals that she is actually inhabiting this smaller doll.
Oh, a dogged fellow, aren't we?
She will then ask you to vanquish the baleful shadows in these lands. Follow the river until you reach the Malformed Star, a large creature hanging from the ceiling that will hurl rocks at you. Use cover and dodge roll to avoid the rocks as you close in to take it out. It will start trying to snap you up when you're close, so stay on your toes. Once it is defeated, go forward into the cave it was guarding. There are a number of gigantic ants in this tunnel. If they're proving to be a challenge, that's actually a good indicator that you could do with being a bit stronger, as there are more difficult enemies to come. at the ant nest, ignore the doorstop ant down the hill, and continue following the river downstream until you reach Nokstella, Eternal City. This area is full of ants, electrically charged silver tears, and sword stresses, and because you're without torrent, running straight through might prove difficult. Whether you progress methodically or recklessly, you want to follow the riverbed all the way until you see a set of stairs leading to a building with a lift that takes you downwards. At the next Site of Grace, you can talk to Ranni some more to learn about her history and motivations.
Each of us was chosen by our own two fingers as a candidate to succeed Queen Marika, to become the new god of the coming age.
From here, enter the nearby cave and watch out for the basilisks, as these creatures throw deathblight mist around, which will instantly kill you if your meter fills up. As the cave opens up after that, a baleful shadow, similar in form to Blythe, will be summoned by the two fingers to confront you. This is a tough fight, but if you roll forwards each time the shadow does a screaming jump attack, you can run behind it and get in a reliable heavy attack or backstab each time. Once the shadow has been defeated, Ranni somehow goes forward on her own, leaving you with the discarded palace key. We'll use this in a minute, but for now, approach the stone entryway on the other side of the cavern, go down the lift inside, and you'll arrive at the Lake of Rot and a new Site of Grace. Now's a good time to make a quick detour to use the discarded palace key. You need to bring it to Renala's room in Raya Lucaria Academy. This is the final boss room of the Academy dungeon, so you'll need to complete Raya Lucaria in order to access it. Inside the room is a locked chest, which you can now open with this key, and inside is the Dark Moon Ring, which is required for the end of the quest. It is a ring that is supposed to be given to Ranni's royal consort. Now, back to the Lake of Rot. On the shore of the lake you can find the map for the area. Unfortunately, we need to get our feet wet to get across the lake, running to scarce landmarks that act as safe-ish havens. Standing in the lake will increase your Scarlet Rot status, so make sure you're running if you have to go through it. You can wear Scarlet Rot resistant gear to increase your immunity, or bring Preserving Boluses, which will cure you of Scarlet Rot and its associated build-up with each use. To start, run to the small nearby island with the stone landmark, and press the pressure pad there. This will raise a section of a path for you to use. Watch out for the basilisks here, as you won't have much room to move around. Running past them is definitely an option. At the far end of this path, jump into the lake again to sprint to the next landmark and pressure plate. From this second landmark, you want to run to the east, then run to the small island to the south. You'll need to either wait here and deal with the basilisks while your rot gauge depletes, or you could gain the rot status while running straight to the island with the big pillar in the distance and then cure it with a bolus. When you're ready, run to the next landmark to the south and press that pressure plate too. You can then run to the base of this new pillar and jump across to the next platform beside it. You now have to run to the west, and this run is long enough that you're basically guaranteed to fill your rot meter, so you need to have plenty of flasks or boluses on hand for this section in particular. You need to sprint to each island, making your way towards the big stone archway, healing through the rot as you go. There's a grace not too far past the stone entryway, so keep healing and running to the south. Cross to the left side of the spillway, down the stairs, and activate the grace on the bridge. Okay, take a minute to catch your breath, that was a lot. Now we need to descend to the floor below by following the crumbling stonework. Once you're at the bottom, you need to watch out for the pests nearby. They're stronger than the ones that you might have met in Caelid so far, but for where we're going, you don't need to fight them. Just wait for their patrols and then sneak past while travelling to the west. We don't need to go all the way to the altar though. Cross to the other side of the channel and then follow the water until you see some stone coffins at the water's edge. You now have the choice to rest in one, which will allow you to safely travel with the water's flow thanks to a cutscene. On the other side of your coffin ride, you'll find yourself at the entrance to a boss arena for Astel, Naturalborn of the Void. This is a really difficult fight for this period in the game, so don't be afraid to level up and come back later if you need to. Astel always starts with this long-range blast, so it's important that you learn to dodge this so that you don't start each attempt at a disadvantage. The head takes the most damage compared to the rest of its body, but your biggest priority should be to avoid taking damage during Astel's big area of effect spells. Also, when he teleports, look around the arena to see if he's teleported to a different place around you, or if he's teleported above you coming in for a grab. For more help with Astel, we have a complete walkthrough guide video, as well as a written guide linked in the description. Once it is defeated, you will be able to exit through the other side of the cavern. This exit will be closed off if you did not collect the Dark Moon Ring before. Ride the elevator up to find yourself in a previously inaccessible area in Liurnia, the Moonlight Altar. We're up to some of the final steps now. Grab the nearby Grace and then ride to the northeast up the hill towards the collapsed cathedral. As you get close to it, Glintstone Dragon Adula, the one guarding Ranni's rise at the start of this video, will suddenly appear. Just like the last time we saw this dragon, you can opt to confront it head on, or do what we did and sneak around behind it without it noticing. Inside the cathedral, you will find a bunch of starlight shards and another site of grace. Right next to this grace is a hole in the ground that you can carefully descend into. Drop all the way to the very bottom and you will find Ranni, sitting beneath her very own 2 fingers that she has now killed with the Fingerslayer blade. Go to Ranni and select Wear Ring. You'll watch a cutscene where your Tarnished places the Dark Moon Ring on Ranni's finger before her body fades away. She will then suddenly reappear after the cutscene to tell you that you are a fitting choice to become her lord, and that you should walk the path of the Lord. What she means is, you can go beat the game, and when you do, she will be there to bring about her grand plan. Before you leave this area, make sure you pick up the Dark Moon Greatsword, an excellent melee weapon for those with a high intelligence stat. Without spoiling too much about the ending of the game, now that you have completed Ranni's quest, you need to look out for the blue summon sign in the final room after you defeat the final boss to choose her unique ending cutscene. And that's all we have to say about Ranni's quest, but there are so many optional questlines and NPCs in Elden Ring that you might have missed. Head to our guide on IGN for more information about Sellen, Celavus, and Blythe's own questlines. And if you're preparing to get ready for Elden Ring's DLC, we've just released an updated rune farming guide for 2024. For all other things Elden Ring, gaming, and more, keep it here on IGN.